For Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Sanel Dlamini. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me to discuss Cyril Ramaphosa's choices, constraints, and the question of trust. Welcome, Raymond. Is your column not too stark in suggesting that there is a sharp division of power between the ANC HQ and President Ramaphosa? And can you also tell us why you suggest that there is a need to fight?
Well, there seems to be a lot of evidence that there are different voices coming from the ANC headquarters under the management of the Secretary General Shule and Cyril Ramaphosa. You get the impression that the idioms, the type of emphases that Shule use, like this thing of white monopoly capital and don't vote for the Mlungus and this sort of thing. Now, personally, I'm a Mlungu, but I'm not afraid by those things. But it's not the language that Ramaphosa is using. Ramaphosa is depicting the ANC as a unifying force, a force for which no one should be afraid. People are afraid, let's say, when the EFF make various militant statements. They get afraid of it. They fear for the investments. They fear for their property and all of that. Now, Ramaphosa is trying to, and people who support Ramaphosa are trying to position the ANC as a reconciler in the model of Nelson Mandela. Now, when you look at Shule, he doesn't look, he looks like a street fighter. He doesn't look like a gentle, kindly sort of figure. Now, those are two contrasting images, but he's also contradicted things, for example, which were unnecessary for him to remark on. Now, when Mbalula said the ANC would never have won Gauteng had it not been for Ramaphosa, he was referring to the fact that when they lost the local government elections in Tshwane and Johannesburg, people attributed it to Jacob Zuma. And what he was saying is that people voted really because of their confidence in Ramaphosa. And some of the voting results show that people voted differently at a provincial and a national level, which seems to indicate that this is valid. And that was contradicted by Shule. He says no one voted for any individual, they voted for the ANC. Now, it was maybe Mbalula in saying this was trying to ingratiate himself with Cyril Ramaphosa, but nevertheless you don't have to contest that. When you contest that, it gives the impression that you are not 100% behind Ramaphosa. Also, there have been a lot of things throughout the year, meetings in the Elangeni or one of these hotels in Durban, where it suggests that supporters of Zuma are meeting to conspire against Ramaphosa. So when I say there's a need to fight, what I mean is if there is an appearance of disunity and two voices, it's important for the presence of the president to be felt in ANC headquarters. When Thabo Mbeki was president, if I remember correctly, every Monday he and the other officials would meet at head office, and they'd be in head office, and consequently there was a unified voice coming out of there. And if I were him, I would be in there and I would say to Shule, what are you doing this week? And say, no, you can't do that. Well, yes, you can do this. And just make sure that he understands who is in charge of the ANC.
And now when you analyze the balance of forces, you also suggest that there is instability with different people readying themselves to jump overboard and abandon President Ramaphosa. Is that not too stark?
Well, you know, first of all, there's a very limited majority that back Ramaphosa from the 2017 conference. But even since then, some of those people have fallen by the wayside. This chap Vincent Smith over Bosasa, and there may be others who fear that this cleanup thing is all very well, but if it turns towards me, it's not going to be good. And if they start feeling that the heat is going to be turned on them, they may well change sides, because the ANC is no longer a political organization in the first place. It's an organization which very, very, very many people are joining because they hope they'll become a councillor and hope there'll be something else, and that's a way of surviving if you're a councillor, or if you are in a higher position, you can get contracts, tenders, all of that. Now, the people who have acted on that basis in the past are now fearing, in some cases, so that we don't even know, because some of those who came out in Bosasa we had no idea about. Now, some of those people may fear this and be preparing themselves for the possibility of jumping ship. If also Ramaphosa, if one person is afraid of it, there may be 100 who are afraid of it, in which case he loses his support.
And lastly, when you refer to the question of Israel, you imply that Ramaphosa is allowing himself to be used by all sides. Is that fair?
Well, you have a photograph of him at the IEC, and the South African Jewish Report have this photograph of him with the Jewish Board of Deputies hugging him, and him saying, making sounds that are very blurred about this question of breaking off diplomatic relations. That still has to go through processes and all of this, which contradicts what the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Lindiwe Sisulu, has been doing. But South African Jewish Board of Deputies then used this as a way of suggesting that Ramaphosa is one thing and Sisulu is obsessed with Israel. And he didn't dissociate himself from that. About a day later, I get an email, which is, I'm on the mailing list of BDS, the Palestinian Support Group, and they have another photograph of him buying T-shirt or something related to boycotting Israel, apartheid Israel. So that, and he's saying, and they have a video of him saying that we stand with the Palestinians, we've always stood with the Palestinians. Now those two messages are contradictory, or at least people are not clear about where he's standing on this, and some are suggesting that Lindiwe Sisulu may lose her position. And if that is the case, why is that the case if she's carrying out a resolution and a decision?
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
That was researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about Cyril Ramaphosa's choices, constraints, and the question of trust.